Hello everybody, welcome to Review a Day, the video blog where I review movies. My name is Brunner and thank you very much for joining me. This is the second half of my top 10, numbers 5 through number 1. If you haven't seen numbers 10 through 6, go back. It's right next door. Watch that one first. I think you'll enjoy this much more. But let's just jump right into it. My number 5 favorite film of the year is Gran Torino. It's funny, because when I was making this top 10 list, I was like, well, any movie that I gave a 5 out of 5 should be on this list. So I was like, you know, this movie, this movie, this movie. And it's funny because I reviewed Gran Torino, Milk, and Frost Nixon, like, all back-to-back in 3 days. I saw all the movies. And I gave Gran Torino the least high rating. I give it a 4 out of 5. But I'm actually I'm rating it higher than any of any of those 3 films. I ate up Gran Torino. There's the beginning of Gran Torino. There's this like moody bass line guitar solo type dealio that it came on, and I just started grinning. I was like, "This is awesome." I was also really struck about Gran Torino is a pretty funny movie. He is so racist to a T, and he's racist to everyone. He's not just racist against Asian people or black people. He's racist against everyone. And it's very funny. Clint Eastwood, a 78-year-old man, being really racist, just over the top, a fountain of racial epithets, is funny. And I think it is intended to be. I know a lot of people will probably be very uncomfortable watching this film, but I couldn't help but laugh, and I think that Clint Eastwood's performance is fantastic. His ability behind the camera as a director is... There's few directors who have this level of talent. Every single scene with the gangs, those really intense, violent scenes, I felt real. I felt like I was in the middle of them, and I ate this movie up. It's one of the most enjoyable films of the year, and I think this is such a great cap to Clint Eastwood's career. He's phenomenal. He does his grisly, gravelly voice. The entire film, I dug it. I ate up every single second of this movie. My number 4 film of the year is Let the Right One In, which is directed by Tomas Alfredson. Let the Right One In. I feel like this movie was made for me. Being a big horror fan, I don't think Let the Right One In is really a horror film, but I think it definitely sits more in that genre than it does anything else. Maybe coming-of-age story, but being a horror fan, especially an American horror fan, it's hard to be a horror fan because so many shitty horror films come out every single year that it really tests your patience and love of the genre. But when something like Let the Right One In comes out and handles everything so fucking well that it's not just a horror film, that it's saying much more, I eat it up. I love vampires. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one of my all-time favorite series ever. I adore anything Joss Whedon has done. Angel is another one of my favorites. And I remember watching Twilight, and I was like, God damn it, Twilight, you suck. Joss Whedon did this better. I did not think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer once when I was watching Let the Right One In. It was completely its own thing, and I think it handles the vampire mythos so much better than Twilight. I still don't understand about Twilight how the vampires are shiny like diamonds? What the fuck? No, when vampires go outside, they should burst into flames, and they do in Let the Right One In, and it looks fucking awesome. The last, I talked about the climax in my review of Let the Right One In. The climax to Let the Right One In, woo! It's ridiculous. It is awesome. It's everything I look for in movies. Let the Right One In. It's my favorite foreign film of the year. I think it's the highest. Yes, it definitely is. It's my favorite foreign film of the year. Let the Right One In. I highly recommend seeking it out. My number 3 film of the year is The Wrestler, directed by Darren Aronofsky. Amazing director, amazing performance, amazing movie. Darren Aronofsky, I liked The Fountain. I can understand why people don't, but I think it was a little bit of a misstep, and I feel like The Wrestler is Darren Aronofsky back on track, making amazing films. It's quiet. It's beautiful. It's restrained. Everything... I said in my review that it's amazing how much Darren Aronofsky says in this film without hardly saying anything. Everything is below... Everything is just kept in so tight, and you never exactly know what Mickey Rourke is thinking at times. There's I feel like I'm repeating everything that I said on my podcast, which you can listen to at nitpickit.com, or you can head over to iTunes, search Nitpickit, 2 words. There's the scene where Mickey Rourke is sitting alone backstage before his wrestling match or afterwards, and he has his head in his hands. And it's such a powerful image, and it's not, there's no point in that movie where I felt like I was being emotionally, I never felt like he was telling me what to feel. It's just there on the screen, and it sinks in, and it's amazing. I think this is one of the best films of the year. I'm not sure if it will win Best Picture, but I definitely think Mickey Rourke and Sean Penn are probably, I think those 2 performances are going to be the big race for Best Picture of the year. My number 2 film of the year is Slumdog Millionaire, directed by Danny Boyle. I loved this movie. I was so lucky to get to see this movie on opening day, and just a beautiful, hopeful film. I didn't put Revolutionary Road on this list, and I liked Revolutionary Road a lot. I think it's a fantastic film, but it's just so hopeless and depressing. It was such a treat to see a film like Slumdog Millionaire that is filled with so much hope and love, and I absolutely think that it is the best love story of the year. I think this movie pees all over The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and I didn't even put The Curious Case of Benjamin Button in my honorable mentions because I think it was such a disappointing story. The love story in Slumdog Millionaire is everything I look for in a love story. It's beautiful, it's touching. I ate it up. Danny Boyle, keep making movies. 28 Days Later, if you haven't seen Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later, shame on you. Go see it. It's amazing. I'm so glad that he won Best Director in that Slumdog Millionaire, picked up Best Picture at the Golden Globes, because I adore that movie. And I'm moving on. My number 1 film of the year. When I finished my top 10 list for the first time, I actually had Slumdog Millionaire in the number 1 spot. But I would be lying if I didn't say that The Dark Knight was my number 1 film of the year. I would be lying. So much of this film for me, as a comic book fan, I mean, I've got a fat stack of comics right here. I mean, this is what I do with my free time. As a comic book fan, someone who reads Detective Comics, I read Batman, I read Nightwing, I read Robin, seeing that story brought to life with that level of respect for the character was a dream come true for me. Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite directors. The Prestige was one of my favorite films of 06 or 07 or whenever it came out. Amazing. So much of what I loved about this film was seeing it opening day. I drove up to Seattle to see it on IMAX. I saw it opening day. The entire theater was dead silent from the opening frame of this film. Not a single person got up. Not a single person said a word. Not a single person checked their cell phone. The entire audience sat in awe of that opening shot on IMAX when it's the buildings, that opening bank heist, when the crazy bank owner pulls out the shotgun and starts blowing people away. I ate every single second of this film up. Heath Ledger's performance is phenomenal. But to me, Aaron Eckhart in this film is the reason I love this film so much. The Harvey Dent story is just exactly what I love, and Jim Gordon has always pretty much been my favorite character in The Dark Knight, and to see that come to life on screen was astounding. I can't rave about The Dark Knight enough. I've watched it probably 4 times on Blu-ray. The Dark Knight is my favorite film of the year. Call me a fanboy, but I fucking loved it. If you guys like this review, make sure to head over to nitpickit.com, Nitpicket. Check out our first podcast, see all my reviews. If you guys like this review, make sure to give me some star ratings. Make sure and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.